Welcome back, folks, to Cinemally Encore, the show where we talk about your favorite movies and their stories. I am your host, James Howell, and always with me is my co-host, Chris Cup. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm tired and a little bit hungover.
Jesus Christ. Well, it kind of does fit the themes
Yeah.
of today's
Just
Noir
kidding, Mom and
episode.
Dad.
Today, that feeling does fit the moment for today's, theme of Noir. Um, so, yeah, this is where, I had everything all set up for our previous recording for Encore. I thought we were going to break into the second season with a Noir, but no, we pretty much jump into gaming. So it was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, let's find that central theme. So we're gonna do Noir. We're gonna do the black and white. Who knows? Maybe we'll do an entire black and white episode. Yeah, you know,
Do
drop
you
the
think I'll?
color and just
I mean, you'll contrast well because you're already in the dark here. Yeah, I mean, you look like a ghost in that black and white.
I feel like my co-host just insulted me, but thank you. There was something I actually really wanted to bring up, and I kind of feel with today's episode fits the mood better to talk about. We're already over a year into Encore, or close enough, and everything. Because technically we started in May. This will be the March recording. So we're almost a whole year, and it's like, you know what? It's like the Cinemally name. Where did we come up with such a name? And when I was originally pitching this, my whole idea was that this was all going to be classic cinema. This was, this was going to be talking about nothing but classic films, not really anything like, in the 90s and up, because I don't consider 90s stuff classic, mostly because, I refuse to acknowledge that.
We're aging and we're gonna die soon.
Pretty much.
We wake up on the wrong side of the bed and like our back hurts and like we get stand up and our knees ache and crank like you hear a
But
cracking
like
sound.
also too though, it's like hearing the music and watching the movies that I grew up watching in the 90s, and then hear like the modern day people's like, oh, you mean the classics? And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's like, I don't even consider the 80s classics. Like the 80s are still the 80s. And
Uh,
like, to me it feels like Jurassic Park just came out a couple of years ago and
Classic.
that Nirvana died off at around the same time, and uh yeah, like so yeah, like, to me, I was thinking everything only going up to about the 80s is kind of like our stopping point of what we were going to go for. We were going to talk about nothing but classics. Of course, even the name, like, I thought of Turner Classic Movies and thought of the logo of Humphrey Bogart, and so I would like think, I was like, this would be a nice companion piece if you love watching Turner Classic Movies, and that maybe, yeah, Cinema Alley would be your way. It would be that alleyway into cinema. It's like, oh, maybe we'll find some stuff that maybe the people on TCM don't talk about, you
Yeah.
know. And so I kind of like that. That, and it gives a noir feel. And quite sadly, we did not cover a noir film in our first season, Chris. We didn't.
So you know, there was a lot to go over, and I feel
Yeah.
like we should have eased our way into that like we
Yeah.
are doing
Well,
now.
I mean, like, season one of Encore, we covered Night of the Hunter, and that's a noir. So that much at least we can sit there and say we have covered some noir, just not on the A show. But yeah, like, as the show evolved, we brought in modern day and classics, because I didn't want to sit there and just leave out the people of the modern era. Like, I like to sit there and to pull from both pulls. There are actually some modern day films that are actually very much amazing, um,
Yeah. I
and
mean, we definitely should have. We like I think it was a good idea to do all encompassing, so we didn't
yes,
restrict ourselves to a single genre niche. Like
yeah,
be a little bit more welcoming.
exactly. Have it where, yeah, maybe one week we will cover the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then the following week we'll cover Knives Out. Like stuff like that. Uh, those are totally two different contrasting films, but the fact that, hey, yeah, we're covering something that came out like in the late eight. No, was it not the late 80s? That was the late 70s, right?
Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think that was
Yeah.
yeah late. early
Yeah,
80s,
so,
mid
so
80s.
somewhere around there, and then we cover something that's a little bit more modern that obviously a lot more audiences probably seen, and it's a lot more refreshed in their brain, and it's like, oh well, what did they got to sit there say about that? So I like that dynamic, and obviously Chris has kept me very much on the modern day track. While I call the classics, he calls the modern, I guess, the modern day classics or just modern day gems. I guess
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
what would you call them today? They're not classics. What do you call them?
like anything that's like 90s to 2020 to or
Yeah, what
like
would you call that?
I mean, like modern cinema, I guess.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
I mean,
They're
you know
not
what?
classics. They're not
From
timeless yet.
the 1990 to like 2015, like that's the age of like modern cinema. This from for like the last 10 years, all the superhero stuff and just kind of the dying out of like it, lower budget indie movies. Like I don't like this era. I don't like it.
We're gonna go right back into the film noir thing, and Chris, we're gonna have you give us what are your top three, at least top three, favorite noir films before we hop into the show's main subject.
Yeah, I had to think about this one for a sec because, like, I mean, across all the different genres of noir crossing over with like sci-fi and like Blade Runner and stuff, like, I always kind of had issues with like them being noir. I know it's more like noir by definition. Let's see here. A genre of crime film or fiction characterized by cynicism, fatalism, and moral ambiguity.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
That's definitely what it started out with because those films were really what sold for its time, and pre-code, that's when they really, or no, post, when we were in when we were in the code and everything, in which like there was like a huge censorship. That's when I think noir really started to experiment in subgenre matter, you know.
yeah,
But yeah,
uh,
we think of the dark shadows and all that. But sorry.
yeah. I just can't. I always like when I think noir, I think like a lone like detective uncovering a mystery and like it blows up into a whole conspiracy and like either he like changes with it or he can't change it or he like gets away from it, something like that.
Chinatown.
So yeah, Chinatown.
Chinatown.
Chinatown. Chinatown is actually the first one on my list here.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's number one right there. If our uh, script professors are watching this, yeah, Chinatown, you beat it in our brains.
They did, and there was
For
a
a
good
good
time I
reason.
hated that movie with a fucking passion, like Silence of the
Really?
Lambs. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like also too, when I read Chinatown and I watched it, it's kind of like my fascination with vampire. It's you always discover something new every time you watch or read it. You discover
Yeah.
something new, and that's when you definitely know you made an amazing piece of film, of cinema. It's when you can go back and you'll always discover something new.
Yeah. And kind of trying to keep that like in the same time period. L.A. Confidential, which is I guess takes place like 20 years later, right? Or it's about the same time period, right?
L.A. Confidential.
1950s.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
you
that
ever
was
seen
supposed to be the
L.A.
'50s.
Confidential?
I have
Yeah,
not, but I've heard of it. That's the one with Kevin Spacey, right?
Kevin Spacey. Yeah, yeah.
I think that man's
Hopefully,
still. Oh no, that man's not sitting in jail. Ah, shit.
yeah. No, I think he's free. Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, James Cromwell, like Kim
That's a great
Basinger.
cast.
Yeah, like fantastic. And Kim Basinger, like she's got that femme fatale
Mm-hmm.
aspect of the noir film that you always look for. You need to have that dangerous looking femme fatale. You
I
know,
think that was her
just
last big film. She
really.
disappeared after the '90s. I think she went to television.
Maybe.
I yeah, but yeah,
Follow her career
LA
too
Confidential I
closely.
think was like her last big film. But yeah, she does
Yeah,
fill the film fatale role very very well.
yeah. So like, yeah, just I remember watching this and being like just super impressed with Guy Pearce's character, and like how he's like the idealistic cop that you like want on the force, who it just kind of scoffs at all the corruption that he sees, and by the end of the film he's taking advantage of it because
Yeah.
he just went through this whole thing of trying to like get rid of all the corrupt cops and the corrupt boss that is behind all the just drugs and stuff that they were investigating.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that just because like at the end he kind of gets a win, and Russell Crowe's character
Is he the bad
gets
guy?
no. I mean, he's kind of the guy that is helping Guy
Oh,
Pearce,
okay,
and
okay.
he's he's like the older cop that's kind of likes to do the gray stuff. He's in the gray area more, morally
Oh, is he
speaking.
kind of like more just like he was kind of beaten into the submission, so it is what it is?
Kinda. I mean, yeah. You'd have to see it. You have to see
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
think I got
I'm
out
gonna
my
have
bit.
to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great little noir film. Just my favorite scene is the interrogation scene when he's like tricking the two guys into uh, spilling information on each other. It's just like so well handled.
Nice.
And my last noir film is kind of a really gritty, hard one. To Live and Die in L.A. if we were
Yeah,
speaking about
that
this
was
one
that
before,
was
right?
the one where you were telling me that before we recorded, and I kept getting the James Bond movie, To
Yeah.
Live and Let Die.
To Live and Let Die. But yeah, no, it's a great little movie about I think they're trying to like find counterfeiters and stop
Yeah.
them, and it's pretty gritty. And you see William Peterson from CSI, the original CSI, in a really like gritty role. I mean, he's always kind of done darker roles in the past with like Manhunter and what was that Stalker movie uh,
Manhunter.
about like no
I was like, it
he
felt fit.
plays
It
the
bleeds in.
father of this daughter who starts dating this like really obviously like terrible little dude. He's like an abusive boyfriend and just kind of psychotic. Um,
Hmm.
and like the guy ends up like kind of kidnapping the daughter, and like it turns into this whole thing. But yeah, William Peterson's just a really hard actor. He's really good film.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like, yeah, that was another one that we talked about before recording, where it's like, oh, okay, this is another movie in which somehow I'm gonna have to fit in my busy ass schedule to like
Yeah.
fucking to record, because it's all like, all right, it's like, how the hell am I gonna fucking how am I gonna find time to watch all these great movies and everything? And it's like I'm constantly busy, but I will make time, because I
You're
make
gonna
time.
have
I
like
make time
a
for this podcast. This podcast with the top lists and whatever scripts we read. It makes me watch the movies, and I mean, even if I can't get a hold of them, at least the script is like a really good basis of idea and imagery that I can get and everything. So like, this
you're
is
gonna
my
set
way
aside
of
like
being
two
able.
hours every other night to watch a movie. Just like
I I
2 hour movie time.
I set
Watch a
out
new
like
movie.
all last night watching the new Gamera stuff. Well, by the time that this come out,
Oh,
Gamera will be out. Oh my god, Encore. I have to wait till Encore to tell you. Uh, but yeah, those are your three.
yeah, those are my three.
Okay. Well, mine's a little bit different, somewhat modern with a little classic. So my, I guess we'll go 3, 2, 1, and everything for me. So number 3 is Sin City. I think almost anyone that knows what the noir genre looks like, in a grittier aspect, is Robert Rodriguez and was it? It's Frank, not Frank Frazetta, Frank something. I forgot the name of
Frank
the.
Miller.
Yeah, Frank Miller. Uh,
Yeah,
I was in the right comic book genre for it. Okay, the comic book artist, not Frazetta. Frazetta did
Watchmen
high
and Dark Knight
fantasy.
Returns.
But yeah, Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez doing Sin City. I still think the first Sin City is the best. An anthology of noir short stories. Nothing beats Bruce Willis's Hardigan and everything. When the Yellow Bastard story, where he's saving the little girl from this corrupt politician's son and everything, and the guy's like, "You're not gonna do anything," and like he shoots his ear off and shoots him in the dick and shoots one of his hands off, and then he comes back as this yellow freak, and he does even worse to him by castrating him by hand and everything, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
That's a gritty ass movie, and like, yeah, filming in black and white.
Yeah, like, to me, I think that was Bruce Willis's last great hurrah in film. I really kind of wish he did like another drama, like a Wes Anderson one. I think that would have been good. But if he had to retire, if he did no more action films post Sin City, I think that would have been the best way he could have retired from the action film genre. Number 2 is Sunset Boulevard, which again, kind of going by how Chris's idea of, you know, the original for film noir, this still kind of fits because it's a screenwriter trying to make at least an honest buck and pay his rent and pay for his car and everything in Hollywood, and it's so damn hard. And there is a femme fatale with Norma Desmond, you know, like, you know, the woman's dangerous and she's very much unpredictable. I love this film. I love the script to it. It's a film that I don't want to dive too deep into it because we're gonna cover that with whatchamacallit later on in the season, because that's gonna be one of our episodes. So I don't want to get too into there. But if you guys seen Sunset Boulevard, it's one of the best noir style films. And then my number 1, it's a neo-noir, but I still call it a noir. It's Blade Runner. I love Blade Runner. I love the
sci-fi,
the camera work. Yeah, it's probably one of the few sci-fi films that I've actually watched over and over and over again. It has like some of the most wonderful monologues in it. Probably like one of the best villains ever in cinema. And yeah, I love the cinematography. I love the color schemes, the color palettes. The editing, I love the lead where, you know, it's more of like, yeah, I've done this over 100 times, and now like he gets dumped into this huge mystery that he's very much a fish out of water in, but like he at least knows how to navigate some of the current, but there's still some mysteries in that current that, you know, are gonna surprise him. And it's probably one of the few films I've actually seen Edward James Olmos in.
He was the other cop, right?
He was the one that was supposedly going to go kill the replicant that Decker was hiding and everything, and he always left the little origami things. That was like his calling. It's weird to be a cop and your calling card is it sounds like a serial killer, you know, kind of a thing. But yeah. I don't know with the comic book, because I do believe that there was a comic book that came out afterwards. I don't know if they've ever expanded upon his character or not.
I don't think so, because it wasn't the comic book like.
I want to say it was a prequel.
Like,
it was
Blackout?
I could be wrong, but or maybe there was multiple comics, but I do remember that there was one that was a prequel, and it showed him and Edward James Olmos' character, and it was supposed to be before the events. I think like back when like they were like, I guess either starting out, or they had just at least been in for a few years, and this is like kind of like the forming of their relationship. Because in the movie, it does show that they used to be partners, or at least they do had a past because of what they worked in. But there's also the multiple cuts of Blade Runner, which I would not doubt if one of those cuts has maybe a little bit something more into the history between those two. Other than that, I do like the mystique. I love the mystique that this guy is constantly always watching, you know, and you never know when he's going to pop up. And, you know, you just kind of want Decker to say something smart, like in Indiana Jones, because, you know, it's all Harrison Ford. You just want him to sit there and say something smart and like, yeah, let's start a fight right now. Let's start a fight with the other cop. But yeah, that is my top 3. I know we pretty much went pretty long in this, so we're gonna definitely jump into the meat of today's episode. It may not be too long, but there's also a bit of Nightmare Alley I want our listeners to actually explore for themselves and watch in their viewing. So like, if you actually have to pause this episode just to go watch Nightmare Alley, go do it. It's a wonderful film. It's amazing.
Yep.
So yeah, Chris, Nightmare Alley. 2018, I believe, was the year date. Directed by Guillermo
I
del Toro and co-written by
think
del
it's
Toro.
2021, wasn't it?
Was it 2021?
I think so.
I know this came out. No, this had to come out after Shape of Water, then, right? So Shape of Water was 2018.
Yeah, Shape of Water was the older one.
Okay. So then, yeah, this one's much more recent. Because I do believe in 2022, that's when Del Toro did Pinocchio. So yeah,
Yeah.
this was right before. So yeah, you're right, Chris. 2021. Thank you for my co-host doing his job. It was co-written by Del Toro and Kim Morgan, starring Bradley Cooper, Kate Blanchett, Toni Collette, Willem Dafoe, Richard Jenkins, Rooney Mara, Ron Perlman, Mary Steenburgen, and David. I could never pronounce his last name correctly. I always call it Strathen. For some reason, Shatharan. I have no clue how you say his last name. But this is an ensemble cast. It's kind of a little bit different from some of Del Toro's film where you usually would get like a lead and a few supporting. No, this is an entire ensemble cast. And before we jump in, Chris, what are your thoughts about this movie?
Um, it definitely wasn't what I thought it was gonna be.
You thought it was going to
Like,
be like a straight noir, like, you know.
I mean, I didn't really hear anything about it coming like up to its release. Like, so I really kind of had no expectations. I didn't know it was like based on another movie from the 1940s, and just like I didn't really.
Which is based on a book.
Yeah, I was I was watching, and like I wanted to like sympathize with Stan, the main character, so much, because like he's he seems like he's had a shitty upbringing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the first scene you have is him dumping the body in the floor and then setting the house on fire. And like, I for some reason I just didn't think it was like it. For some reason I didn't think he didn't have anything to do with the murder. I don't know why. I was just like, this there's
It's
something about this guy.
it's definitely an interesting hook at the beginning, seeing Stanton do that. Where yeah,
Yeah.
he's burying the body under, and then he's burning the house down, and yeah, like you wouldn't find out those reasons too until much later in the film, but it does kind of make you question. It's like what has he done? And obviously, it has to be something pretty fucked up because he's immediately jumping on the bus afterwards.
Like, I just kind of I could tell it was like 1920s, like Great Depression era kind of stuff going on. And like, I was just thinking, oh man, maybe like his the only family he had left is dead, so he's just kind of like burning down everything that's holding them there
Mm-hmm.
and just getting out of there. And like, you see him get to the circus, the carnival, and he's just so quiet and like kind of reserved and like taking everything in. Everyone's just talking at him, and
Yeah.
like, hey, like, I you want a honest buck, come work with us, we'll pay you, we'll give you a hot meal. And he's like slowly like getting to know their all carnies. They're all kind of like, they're welcoming people, except for like, uh what's his name,
Bruno, played by Ron Perlman, is not
yeah,
always welcoming.
he
I can't
he
remember
can
who's
tell
his
something
buddy.
off.
Oh
He
yeah,
tells
yeah.
something off.
He's a bullshit smeller. Like he knows when he's heard bullshit, and yeah,
Yeah. So just like when he's getting with Lady Zima, and he's meeting Pete, who's basically what Stan could become. I see those two characters as a mirror, because
yeah.
he's a father figure that Stan obviously like kind of respects to
Mm-hmm.
some degree, and like he is trying to tell him,
But Pete knew
like,
when to stop when he was doing his little
yeah,
magic trick and everything.
he's the guy
That
who learned the
Stan
lesson.
wanted to know. Yeah, he learned his lesson, and
Yeah,
sadly, that lesson, I kind of felt like it drove him to the bottle. But was he an opium
probably.
addict as well? I
I
want to say he was, because
I mean,
I think he was
I
injecting
remember the
himself.
I just remember him always being sauced. So
Yeah,
he could have, drugs
he
could
could
have
have
been
been
part of it.
because at that time opium addiction was like rampant. That was the heroin of its time, was the opium addiction stuff, and especially when they came back from the First World War, that was a really big thing. And yeah, like a lot of those characters that Stan, interweaves, Pete with his book and everything. He kind of teases him at first, but it's like no, it's all like, you don't want to believe in all the lies and everything that come from this, because you'll get shut eye. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the crux to Stanton's character in this.
Early on, they're talking about never do a spook show. No good
Yeah.
comes out of a spook show, and that's kind of like the the theme. Like, giving false hope is bad.
Mm-hmm.
It does no good. All it does is harm. If it's a lie, it never helps anybody, and
Yeah.
that's
And it
kind of like the
shows.
theme of the movie here.
It shows, because it doesn't just affect Stanton, but it affects the people that he's done this stuff to, which I was surprised, that some of the shit that did go down, I was like, what the
Yeah,
fuck? It took me a second time viewing to finally understand it. Of, oh, I now know why such and such did what she did to both her and her husband, because they lost her kid during the
yeah,
war. And it's like, oh my god. And yeah, if you believe your own bullshit, and that you this is what he did to an entire family. He killed it,
yeah.
and um uh there's one thing I really want to sit there and kind of point out is Stanton's journey. Everything is all revealed to him still at the beginning of the movie, when the geek escapes and he goes into the funhouse looking for it. Uh, seeing, like, that almost, it was in the sense like he was peeking into the afterlife with this funhouse. You had like the automated recorded messages that were in there, talking about, look at your sins and whatnot. And yeah, like, I do believe that there was like a funhouse mirror that I think kind of distorted a little bit of his looks. And I do believe that that was very heavily foreshadowed for what would happen to this character. Um, at
The
the
foreshadowing in this film and the setups and payoffs are awesome.
Yeah,
Like, just
like
the little things.
there are some movies that do good with a good setup in Act One, but when you come to movies like this, like Sunset Boulevard and Nightmare Alley, and the really really good noirs, but also to just the really really good films in general from the classic periods, their whole Act One setup, like, there's an understanding that when these screenwriters wrote this, that it felt so easy writing the final act, because everything just fell right in the fucking place, foreshadows and all sorts of things. And this one right here was like one of the best. I think it's probably one of Del Toro's best written scripts. Also too, yeah, the whole funhouse thing, but also too, when you really look at it now, going back and watching it, because I've seen the movie about maybe 3 times or so. I've read the script twice. From the beginning, that we see Stanton burn his father, because that's what the body is in the house. He's burning his father. It is nothing but a self-destructive path for the character going forward. Like, if you really look at he murders his father, he buries and burns all the evidence. He keeps the watch, which, again, like, the watch really does kind of come into it comes in quite a bit throughout the film, especially like during the Carney stuff, because of where, like, he comes from. They definitely do judge him by his watch. And it's more or less, it's like when he's there at the Carney, I do believe that Willem Dafoe's character Clem, who hired him, already knew what kind of a person he was. And
Yeah.
And I do believe probably the weirdest thing from the story going through was, why the hell did Toni Collette give him a hand job?
Because he's a nice looking boy.
As much as she loved Pete,
He
who
got
she
her
was married
tub.
to, as much as she loved Pete, who she was, I guess, married to,
They were married. Like, I mean,
I think that it was more maybe they acted like a married couple, but they were obviously an object together and everything, because
I just always saw it
she
as
looked after him like a wife does a husband down on his luck and
I
everything.
I mean, I saw it as like maybe they are together, but like they're not like together
They
kind
just
of
care more
like she
deeply
can
for
do.
one another.
Yeah, they can just kind of do
Okay.
whatever they want, you
Yeah.
know, and like just Pete's a drunk. He's kind of not really like present maybe, and Tony
Yeah.
Collette like just does whatever she wants.
Giving Bradley Cooper a fucking hand job and everything while he's taking a
Yeah.
bath in it, which even goes to sit there and show you that like even just that one little odd scene, it's still a self-destructed path because yeah, he took advantage of the offer given to him, but when he goes to date and later marry Rooney Mara's character Molly, completely pushes Tony Collette's Xena out of the way, and
But I mean,
but even like she
she
kind of like
knows.
she when she did the tarot card reading, there that right there also was another thing that cemented Stanton's thing because what she was drawing, I don't really think she was fully 100% honest with him because I think when she pulled something, I think she really started seeing Stanton for who he was
Yeah.
and everything because the cards don't lie. The whole thing with the geek, the funhouse, it was all set up of Stanton facing the internal being that he actually is, and I wouldn't sit there say he denounced it, but he just didn't pay no mind to it. I guess, yeah. Like he kind of like looked at it like I could be that, but I'm not gonna be like that. But yet, when him and when Pete dies and he takes the book, and him and Molly start doing the spook shows for the rich people. What is he doing? He's doing exactly everything that Pete told him not to do. And the
Yeah.
cards in which Xena drawed out for him were going as it plans. And he got that power high that I can make these people feel whatever. But he kept sitting there and saying, I'm helping these people. It's like, no, you're not. You're
That's
digging up the
classic
trauma.
manipulative.
Yeah, he's a manipulative
Narcissist.
little fuck.
Yeah. Back to Pete. Did Stan kill Pete? Did he
I don't
switch
think
the
he did.
the poisoning with the sauce? It was right next to each other. He's telling Stan at the very beginning, "Don't get these mixed up." And you see that moment where he's like he's grabbing it, and like he takes a second, a little bit longer, right? And then
I
Pete
think,
dies right after.
huh? I was about to sit there and say because he didn't look like he was that much of an alcoholic. Like
I
he
mean,
wasn't falling that
he's
bad
always
on the.
drunk. Like,
Yeah, he was, but he wasn't to the point where how like a normal alcoholic would really wither away. He was kind of skinny, but it looked like he always had that figure. But now that you do bring that up, when Clem says, "Never, never this one. This is poison. This is for consumption." Yeah, I didn't think about that. That was a really good one, Chris.
Right before that, he's trying to like get the book, and that's when that's when Pete goes into the whole shut eye. Like he's trying to warn Stan, like this book is dangerous. You could lose yourself. You could get drunk with power. You could like believe your own bullshit. But all Stan, I feel like, is hearing is he could get everything he
Power.
wants,
Yeah,
without any regard for whatever it does to other people.
it's like the Ring of
And
Power.
then he goes and gets that sauce. He gets the drink.
Thank
and
you
he
for
comes
pointing
back.
that out. Yeah, it didn't click to me. It did not click to me for that. See, that's how well the script is written. That even though I read it twice, like I think Chris, was it your one-time read?
Yeah.
See, this is why you always need
once
two
I read
minds.
it, then I saw the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The power of another mind on another script. The rewards you will receive. But yeah, so there you go. There's another manipulative power thing to get a hold of it. And then once he starts doing the show, and you have the wonderful and always beautiful Cate Blanchett's Dr. Lilith Ritter. I am sorry, but any smart man knows if a woman is named Lilith, do not fuck with her. Like,
is that a dark name about a witch or
well,
something?
I mean, like,
is that a witchy name?
You look at Frasier. Frasier's first wife was Lilith, and
She
her
is
name was Lilith.
Adorable. I love her.
I love her too. But when Frasier fucked up, she made him know, and she didn't sit there and let it go lightly. That woman fucking dug her fucking moment into the thing, and that's when Stanton pulled this on Cate Blanchett's Dr. Lilith Ritter. uh, with the whole gun in there, and because she wanted to sit there and make sure that this wasn't just some bullshit, and he didn't like it that she was all like, oh, I'm not bullshitting you, da da da.
She
But
challenged him in
but
front
but
of
but she did. She
everybody.
challenged him, and he felt threatened by it, and he was lucky he knew what was in there.
Yeah,
Uh, and yeah, throughout that entire thing, when she was kind of embarrassed and everything, this whole fucking film, she made his ass pay dearly for it. And
yep,
that's kind of like the magic of just his downfall, that it's all like, oh, I was challenged by this woman doctor. It's all like, I gotta put her in her place. And of course, he
yeah.
ends up fucking her and completely denouncing his partner,
He
even
like
though he
doesn't
kept
realize.
saying he cared, but he didn't.
Yeah, no. He it's just wild to me. Like you do that, you embarrass this woman, you like call her out like that, and you think that she's like, oh yeah, I'll do this money making scheme with you. We'll bleed these guys dry, and give you like free lessons or free therapy sessions, and get all this dirt on you. And he's just like doesn't think like that's gonna blow back on him.
Exactly, and of course with Kate Blanchett's Dr. Ritter character, that leads into more or less the second act of the story, because really the whole first act is the Carney stuff, and then
Yeah,
Stanton and Molly doing their show for the rich and powerful,
yeah,
and now comes, like we said, Dr. Lilith doing the therapy sessions with them while they're fucking. Uh, and we have the Ezra Grindle. What do you think about the character of Ezra Grindle, played by Richard Jenkins? What do you think about that? I don't know if you really kind of call him the antagonist. He's one of the
um,
antagonists, but he's not the antagonist.
I mean, I don't see him as an antagonist. Like I think Lilith is the main antagonist here
Mm-hmm.
for the second part of the story. Um, but like Grindel clearly is a killer. he clearly
He's a
murdered some
deeply
girls.
disturbed motherfucker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's very messed up in the head, and like it's wild that like I mean he has his loyal was his chauffeur bodyguard.
Yeah, his chauffeur, which obviously does not fucking scream mob.
Yeah,
Fucking that dude look like he's done some shit. Not saying some shit. He looked like he's done some shit. Like chop the body up, throw it in the bay, maybe cinder block some fuckers to give him
yeah.
a good
He's
scare.
probably he knows Grindel's probably like a killer, and like he sees like Grindel kind of losing it a little bit and
But he's
going
so
and doing
fucking
this.
loyal.
Yeah, he's just like if you do this thing with like Stan, then like he knows he's taking it. Stan is taking advantage of him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like kind of keeping a close eye on him. And then it's not until when he finds out about the judge and his wife, he like goes and like it clicks for him like, oh crap, I gotta stop
That
this
that
right
was
now.
that was Miss Kimball, right? The
Yeah,
yeah, okay. I couldn't find who played Mr. Kimball, but yeah, the judge and the wife who lost her son during World War I. Yeah, she ended up sitting there and saying right around the final, yeah, the finale, in which um when what is it, Molly was dragged into this whole ordeal even though she didn't want to be it, in order to manifest and show Ezra's deceased wife. Yeah, that whole scene where she's all like, we're gonna be with our son, I think his name was Billy, I have no clue, that's a
I think it was
placeholder.
Julian.
Julian, there you go. I was
Julian,
so
yeah,
off from fucking. I think it's Billy. It's Julian. Oh, I'm so far off.
yeah,
But yeah, like she goes and shoots her husband like right in the fucking. I think it was right in the head, and then she
yeah,
goes and she aims it right into her eye, and then pulls the trigger, and it's like aim up a little bit. Otherwise, that's just gonna hurt. Like,
yeah.
oh my god. I have a thing with eyes, folks. So when it came to that scene, I was like, aim up a little
That,
bit.
it took
No,
me off
you're gonna
guard so
suffer.
much.
It's like ah. But yeah, that whole
She's just
scene.
like, remember what he said, Mr. Carlisle said about Julian? He's like, yeah, would you like to see him again? Yeah. okay.
Like,
Just
what
like what?
the fuck? Yeah, I think for one, that was the definite eye opener to show just how bad
Yeah.
Stanton's fucking bullshit was.
Just a
His shut eye.
culmination of
Yeah,
everything that we've been told before, like
and
the spook show and the shit eye.
and what's scary is I do kind of wonder if Ezra, going back to Ezra, if like him and his chauffeur have not beaten the shit out of like supposed, mediums and everything, that like if they could not give him the answers that he want and everything. And it was pretty fucked up whenever Stanton brought up the abortion. That was pretty fucked up. He started bringing all that, and he's like, I'm tired of feeling bad for what I've done. And I was like, dude, you're gonna fucking eat a lot of goddamn shit. You're eating a lot, because when you learn how he treated his wife, it's all like, do you really love her, or do you miss just mistreating her? Because yeah, he's pretty damn short of a few round pegs going to a damn fucking square. Like, this dude is not all there. And
Yeah.
I kind of wondered if maybe he just missed that and everything. And then when he got a hold of Molly and started smacking the hell out of him, I think, didn't they kill him? I think he killed him. He beat the shit out of him to the point he died.
Yeah, his nose is like caved into his face, and just like his face is kind of a little caved in with all the punches Stan gave him, just to get him off Molly.
It's been a week since I've seen this movie, and like I'm trying to like remember. I do remember the beautiful visual in which the woman is like in the dress, and she has the hands caked in blood, and it's like, oh, that's a haunting thing. And the moment he starts walking over towards her, and it's like, oh, we didn't predict this. And I was like, how'd you not predict he was gonna try to hug his wife? And then the closer he gets, and he realizes you're not her, and it's all like, oh shit.
Just like, what is this? I can hold you? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah. And I felt sorry for him, but also at the same time, that guy deserved exactly what he did. No one here in this movie is like squeaky clean, except for probably Molly. Molly's probably actually the only innocent, and you find that in most noirs. It's the love interest's actual love is actually the pure and innocent one. It doesn't mean like, she has to be like, oh, I go to church every Sunday or anything, but she's generally a good soul that's like, not wronged
good
anyone.
Morally.
Yeah, she is a good morally, whereas Cate Blanchett is more chaotic good. I won't even sit there and say what she did was bad and everything, because yeah, she was getting revenge, but at the same time she was pointing out Stanton's toxicity and abuse. And she did the job that everyone knew that she can do that, and she did it very fucking well. How do we want to wrap this up, Chris? How do we want to wrap up Nightmare
I think
Alley?
we should talk about. I mean, like, I was just. My last note here was Stan and the Geek, like the parallels between him becoming the Geek and like the Geek throughout the entire beginning half of the movie is just like a lot of what happens is like in the Geek area. Like the first show he sees is the Geek, where it's introduced to this inhuman creature everyone is in awe of, that just consumes, and it's just kind of, the Geek is what Stan is on the inside. He just takes and consumes without any regard to like what he does to other people, or like how people perceive him. And like at the end of the movie, when he's on the run and like he's lost everything, he's got his ear blown off. And he comes across a carnival where he's trying to get a job as the mentalist or whatever, and they're like, we don't need another guy like that.
But we do need a geek.
Yeah, we need a geek. And just like, you know what a geek is? He's just like, I was made for this. And just, how do you perceive that scene? Like,
okay, so like when I read it versus how I first saw it, I sat there and saw more in the script in the final scene that describes Stan. I saw him more unhinged, but like the shakes, all that from like the alcohol withdrawals, which again, it goes back to, well, how the hell do you catch a geek? And Clem's all like, oh, we usually find the addicts, the alcoholics that need their fix. And it kind of, to me, and my idea with the script was like, he was very much in that, where I'm an alcoholic, you know, I'm on probably something else too to get by. And whenever he sat there and said, I was made for this, my image of Bradley Cooper was very much he was completely unhinged and
Yep.
everything. And that there was more of a like a happy but sad like a sad moment where it's like, oh my god, I finally admitted that I am this creature. Like there's tears going down his eyes and he's just kind of smiling like, you know, at a job interview. It's like I was made for this. And
Yeah.
then seeing how Del Toro did it the other way where it was more of a just this is who I am. There was no
Yeah.
tears. There was it's just who I am. And
He
it's
does a
like
little smile, like I was made for this, like
yeah,
just
and it's like
accepting his fate.
yeah. I don't know which one would I still prefer for the ending because I think either or would probably. I think my idea would probably be a little bit more too cartoonish of like I'm this broken down human once was a human being and I'm
uh,
crying because I don't. I guess for this for what it is he finally accepted he was a geek. Where I guess in my mind how I read it, it's more of I'm upset that I'm admitting it, but at the
yeah.
same time I am what you want me to be, and everything. And but yeah,
Just
it
like
it
this
goes
is
it goes
everything's been stripped
full
away from me.
circle. It goes full circle.
Yeah.
He goes back to the Carney world after he had failed in a new life. Everything just
Yeah.
as much as how he failed in his past life and came back to the carnival. He rose up to fame, fell again, went back to the carnival. This time, yeah, they don't need a spook show. They needed a geek, and he took it. What about you?
I mean, yeah, just how I saw it, like he he was at the end of uh his journey here, and just like he had given up his watch, and everything that was him before is gone, and he's nothing now,
Mm-hmm.
and like this is what he's reduced to, and it's like the most real version of himself. Like it's just him sitting there, and he sees the jar with the baby in it, and he's just going into the backstory, and the head carney guy is just like, oh yeah, that's a cool little story, I'll start doing that. It's just like everything is fake, and he's just like trying to get the job, and then he offers him the geek, and like yeah, he's accepting it, he's accepting like who he is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just it was a great little way to end it, like a nice little uh poetic justice for his character.
Yeah.
There
Picking
is
up
no
real quick.
redeeming for this monster.
Picking up real quick before we do wrap up. Yeah, you did bring up the dead fetus
Yeah.
in the jar thing that obviously this new Carney guy got from Clem, and the whole story about it. That baby has a lot of parallels because uh, the baby that killed its mother through childbirth and everything. So Stanton's mother left probably to not be a mother no more and not to be around the father. I'm pretty sure that the father blamed the son for the reason why the mother is not around. Hence why Stanton was always abused by his father and everything. But also too, if you think about it, with Ezra's wife and everything, when she had the abortion, instead of the baby killing her, she killed the baby. I guess like innocence, but also too innocence. The baby did kill her because she wanted to have the child, if I believe so. And with her getting that Ezra made her get, it killed a part inside of her that made her take her own life. Uh,
Yeah.
so there is parallels with you know, again, that's why one of the great things about the script it's the little details and how they all repeat, you know, and they all tell their story. You know, it's simple. It's so damn simple, but when you sit there and you try to write simple, it's like, oh, this seems too simple. And so I kind of get that because when I write, I sometimes get a little too complex. I was like, no, KIS says keep it simple, stupid. You know.
Just thinking of George Lucas in my head, like, oh, it rhymes, it's poetic. It's just like the movie ends how it begins, and just
Mm-hmm.
it was a it, it was a really good dark movie. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
it's a very very dark subject matter, but also too, if you've sat around with Del Toro has done some dark subject matter from Chronos. which even then I kind of think that's a bit light, but again, it's pretty damn dark. It has some dark subject matter, but you also look at The Devil's Backbone. Um, that's one I've been wanting to see forever, but I can never be able to find a streaming site that actually has it. Or if they do have it, I don't have the money, and I've ran out of free trials and everything to get it. But yeah, Del Toro is known for always hitting those really dark ones. Like even Pan's Labyrinth is pretty dark when you look at it. It's taking place during World War II, I think. I think it takes place during World War II in Spain, very very dark subject matter, but like very beautiful, haunting fantasy world that it built. But with that, today we're gonna wrap it up. This has actually been a really long episode. I thought we were gonna go short and everything, but we actually found out something. We were diving, and everything. I really enjoyed this evening.
Topic a few times. Our bad.
Yeah. It's fine and everything. But Chris, where can the folks find you on the socials?
The Zealous Slacker on Instagram, YouTube.
All right, and you can find me as the Gothic Storyteller on Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. Threads more James Howell, but yeah, you can find me on there and on YouTube. And with that being said, folks, you can also find us on the YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure that's what you guys are watching us on. But also, too, you can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music for the audio-only listening. And with that being said, thank you guys again for watching. Chris, do you want to sit there and let the people know what we're going to cover next month?
I'll drop some hints. It's a musical duo who are on a mission from God. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. For those of you that are confused, that are completely confused and everything, we are actually covering the original Blues Brothers. I still actually have to finish the back history of the research on that and everything, because that's a very interesting way how this whole movie just came together. Very, very interesting. But yes, folks, next month we'll be covering the Blues Brothers. We can't wait to sit there and then dive in with Dan Aykroyd and is it John Belushi?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
one of the Belushis.
James did a TV show and everything, but yeah, we'll be diving in with them with the SNL skit turn movie. And with that being said, folks, I will catch you guys all later. Say goodbye, Chris.
Bye bye.